Most people over 40 think walking is enough for longevity. But a new study reveals something different and far more powerful. One type of exercise can reduce your long-term mortality risk by over 50%, and almost no one is doing it correctly. Today, I'll show you what it is, how it works, and why the internet got that 53x number completely wrong. You've probably seen videos claiming that this exercise is 53 times better than walking, but that number is a misunderstanding. The real finding is still dramatic, and even more meaningful for people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And today, we're going to break down the study, the science behind it, and exactly how you can use this information safely and effectively. Let's start with what the research actually found. A large study published in JAMA Internal Medicine followed more than 400,000 adults over several years. Researchers compared 3 types of movement: walking, moderate-intensity cardio, and vigorous exercise. When they analyzed the data, one number stood out. Adults who consistently included vigorous exercise in their week had up to 53% lower all-cause mortality compared to those who relied mostly on walking. Not 53 times lower, 53% lower. But even at 53%, it's one of the strongest reductions in mortality ever measured from a single behavioral habit. In the same study, vigorous exercise also showed roughly 4 times more impact on longevity compared to moderate cardio like steady-pace jogging or cycling. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The benefits held true across age groups, genders, and even different levels of baseline fitness. In other words, the effect wasn't limited to athletes or people who were already healthy. It applied to everyday adults, including those over 40. So what makes vigorous exercise so powerful? Why would short bursts of higher intensity movement affect longevity more dramatically than longer sessions of walking or moderate cardio? The first reason has to do with something called VO2 max, your body's ability to use oxygen efficiently during exercise. Multiple meta-analyses show that VO2 max is one of the strongest predictors of long-term survival. In some studies, even stronger than blood pressure, cholesterol, or weight. Vigorous exercise is uniquely effective at improving VO2 max because it pushes the heart and lungs to operate at a higher capacity, even for brief moments. The second reason is cardiac remodeling, the healthy kind. When you raise your heart rate enough to challenge your cardiovascular system, your heart grows stronger. It pumps more blood per beat. Your arteries stay more flexible, and your body becomes better at delivering oxygen to your muscles and organs. After 40, when these systems naturally begin to decline, this effect becomes extremely valuable. The third mechanism involves mitochondrial biogenesis. Vigorous exercise stimulates your cells to create new mitochondria, the tiny structures that generate energy. More mitochondria mean better metabolism, better energy, more resilience, and a slower rate of biological aging. Zone 2 cardio also improves mitochondria, but vigorous exercise triggers this response more intensely because it forces your body into short bursts of metabolic challenge. The fourth mechanism is lactate clearance. Most people think lactate is a waste product, but studies now show that lactate is actually a powerful signaling molecule. When your body clears lactate efficiently, it becomes more resilient to physical and metabolic stress. Vigorous exercise trains this pathway in ways walking simply cannot. And finally, vigorous exercise improves something called recovery rate, how quickly your heart returns to normal after a challenge. Recovery rate is another strong predictor of mortality, especially after age 40. A faster recovery rate means your nervous system is more adaptable, your cardiovascular system is healthier, and your stress response is more balanced. But before we go any further, it's important to address a misconception. This does not mean everyone over 40 should immediately start doing sprints or intense HIIT workouts. The study doesn't say that vigorous exercise must be extreme. It doesn't say you need to push yourself to exhaustion. And it definitely doesn't say the benefits only apply to athletes. What it does say is that periods of elevated intensity, even very short ones, offer powerful longevity advantages. So how do you apply this safely if you're over 40 or if you haven't exercised vigorously in years? Here is a simple, science-based, low-risk protocol inspired by the research. This is not a workout to follow along with. It's an example framework you can adapt with your doctor's guidance. Step 1. Start with a warm-up. 3 to 5 minutes of light movement, brisk walking, easy cycling, gentle dynamic stretching. This prepares your joints, increases blood flow, and reduces injury risk. Step 2. Choose your vigorous movement. It doesn't need to be sprinting. Vigorous simply means your breathing becomes noticeably harder, and you could talk, but not comfortably. Examples include fast uphill walking, cycling at higher resistance, swimming a strong lap, rowing, or stair climbing. Step 3. Use short intervals, 10 to 20 seconds of effort, followed by 1 to 2 minutes of gentle movement. Repeat 4 to 6 times. This method is safe for beginners because the effort is brief and the recovery is long. It still activates the mechanisms behind VO2 max, cardiac remodeling, and mitochondrial improvement without overwhelming your system. Step 4. Cool down. 2 to 3 minutes of easy movement to bring your heart rate down. Recovery is part of the training and part of the longevity effect. You can do this protocol once or twice per week. If you're already active, you can gradually increase the number of intervals, but there is no need to go to extremes. Research shows that the greatest longevity benefits come from modest, consistent intensity, not maximal suffering. And, of course, this is not medical advice. If you have cardiovascular issues, joint limitations, or any health condition, talk to your physician before starting a new exercise program, especially vigorous exercise. Now let's put all of this into perspective. Walking is still one of the healthiest habits you can have. It reduces inflammation, improves brain function, supports emotional regulation, and lowers stress. Zone 2 cardio, that comfortably challenging pace where you can still talk, is one of the best tools for metabolic health and mitochondrial strength. But vigorous exercise adds a layer nothing else can fully replace. It challenges your heart in a unique way. It teaches your body to recover under stress. It improves oxygen delivery. It slows cardiovascular aging. And when done safely, it offers some of the strongest longevity benefits ever documented. So don't think of this as walking versus vigorous exercise. Think of it as a spectrum, and your heart benefits differently from every part of that spectrum. Walking supports your foundation. Zone 2 builds your engine. Vigorous exercise upgrades your survival system. If you're over 40, these small bursts of intensity may be one of the most powerful health decisions you can make. Not because they burn more calories, but because they strengthen the very systems that keep you alive. And if you want to take this even further, there's something else that pairs perfectly with vigorous exercise. And almost no one over 40 is doing it consistently. It's one of the simplest and most powerful anti-aging tools we have. And it's not a supplement, a gadget, or a trend. It's resistance training. In fact, studies show that maintaining, or rebuilding, muscle after 40 is one of the strongest predictors of long-term health, independence, and mortality risk. It improves insulin sensitivity, protects your joints, supports your metabolism, and slows the natural decline that accelerates with age. If you haven't watched our video on this yet, it's right here on the screen. It breaks down why muscle is a longevity organ, the science behind it, and a simple way to get started safely, even if you haven't exercised in years. I'll meet you there.